Picture this. It's July 26th, 2026. You're sitting in a crowd of roughly 12,000 fans on an absolutely gorgeous afternoon in Cooperstown, New York. Up on stage, 57 living Hall of Famers. It's literally the largest gathering of its kind in baseball history, but all eyes are glued to the podium. Standing there is a notoriously hard-nosed, stubbornly competitive guy from Bellflower, California. And before he can even get a single word out, he has to stop, choke back tears, and look out at his parents in the crowd. Today, in this explainer, we are unpacking the incredible, often chaotic, and ultimately triumphant journey of Jeff Kent.
You belong. You belong. That is exactly what the legendary Johnny Bench told Kent on the bus that very morning. And man, for a player who waited 10 long years to hear those words, that was the ultimate validation. This wasn't just a great player finally getting a plaque. This was the greatest power-hitting second baseman in baseball history, finally being told that yes, his undeniable resume had officially outlasted the narratives that kept him waiting.
The road less traveled. Kent's path to greatness was anything but a straight line. Honestly, it started with a lot of friction. Back at Edison High School, Kent actually got kicked off the baseball team. He clashed with his coach over a position change, which is, a pretty early glimpse of that fiery, stubborn personality that would kind of define his whole career. But he didn't quit. He walked onto the UC Berkeley squad, earning his spot purely through grit. And there, he found this core motivation. See, growing up, he loved racing motorcycles. So his dad offered him a deal. Earn a college scholarship to play baseball, and I'll buy you a pickup truck. Well, Kent got the scholarship, and he got the truck. But it became way more than just a ride. It became this lifelong symbol of simple motivation, feeling a truly historic drive.
And he absolutely needed that drive, especially when you look at where his pro career actually began. 523. He was the 523rd overall pick in the 20th round of the 1989 draft by the Toronto Blue Jays. I mean, think about that for a second. When you're a 20th round pick, the odds of simply making it to the big leagues are staggeringly low, let alone becoming a Hall of Famer. Nobody expected much, but Kent, he had other plans.
His early career was just an absolute whirlwind of trades. He debuts with the Blue Jays in '92, but literally months later, he's traded to the Mets for David Cone. Toronto wins the World Series that year, and sure, Kent gets a ring, but he's suddenly thrust into the intense pressure cooker of New York baseball. Then, by '96, the instability just keeps going. He's traded to Cleveland early in the year and then flipped again late in the year to the San Francisco Giants. A totally chaotic path for sure, but it turned out to be exactly what he needed to finally find his home.
Learning from legends. During that really stressful stint in New York, Kent got what was basically a masterclass in discipline just by luck of his locker assignment. He ended up sharing space with Hall of Famer Eddie Murray. Kent later admitted he ran his mouth a lot as a young kid, whereas Murray was all business. When Kent asked him how he stayed so calm with the bases loaded, Murray gave him some gold. He said, "Keep it simple. Focus on the single RBI on third base, not the 3 on base, and control your emotions." This philosophy completely anchored Kent's famously disciplined approach at the plate for the rest of his entire career.
The MVP and the trauma. With those lessons firmly locked in, Kent hit his peak years with the Giants. This is where everything just coalesced into sheer undeniable dominance. The fiery kid from California found his perfect environment. In the 2000 season, Kent slashed .334, hit 33 home runs, and racked up 125 RBIs. And yeah, he won the National League MVP. But what's truly mind-blowing is who he beat out to win it, his own legendary teammate, Barry Bonds. Kent and Bonds were the most feared tandem since Mays and McCovey, and in 2000, Kent became the very first second baseman to win the MVP award in 16 years.
But as is often the case, with massive success came massive friction. Kent's time in San Francisco was, well, polarizing. Take spring training of 2002. He broke his wrist and claimed he slipped while washing that famous pickup truck. But witnesses actually reported seeing a motorcyclist popping wheelies and crashing right near the facility, a story the Giants' general manager definitely gave credence to. And then, of course, there was that infamous, highly publicized dugout shoving match with Barry Bonds. These incidents, combined with his pretty blunt personality, undeniably rubbed a lot of baseball writers the wrong way, setting the stage for what was to come.
But let's pivot back to the hard data for a second, because the numbers are just staggering. Kent finished his 17-year career with 377 total home runs. But focus on this. 351 of those were hit specifically while playing second base. That is the all-time Major League record for that position. He completely redefined what kind of power you could expect from the middle infield.
And it wasn't just home runs. He drove in an astonishing 1,518 career RBIs, which is third most among primary second basemen. Kent always traced this immense production back to a really simple truth. It was originally spoken by Tommy Lasorda, but Kent heard it on a motivational tape played by his college coach. The money lies in the RBIs. A simple philosophy, sure, but he executed it with lethal consistency.
A decade of waiting.
So Kent retires in 2008 after some really successful late career stints with the Astros and Dodgers. Given the MVP, the records, and just undeniable stats, you'd think Cooperstown would come calling immediately, right? Nope. Instead, he hit a ceiling of 46.5%. From 2014 through 2023, Kent sat on the Hall of Fame ballot, and his vote total never surpassed this painfully low mark. Remember, he needed 75%. Now, while he played in an era totally overshadowed by performance-enhancing drugs, he was never named in the Mitchell Report. But his polarizing reputation and blunt relationship with the media meant the writers simply wouldn't elect him. For 10 years, the friction completely eclipsed the statistics.
The Hall of Fame call.
Thankfully, the story doesn't end there. On December 7, 2025, a totally different group evaluated Jeff Kent. The Contemporary Baseball Era Committee, which is a panel of former players, executives, and historians, sat down in Orlando to look past all the drama and focus entirely on the baseball resume. And out of 16 committee members, he received 14 votes. That's 87.5%, easily clearing the 12 votes he needed. In fact, Jeff Kent was the lone selection made by the committee that year. His peers looked at those 377 home runs and 1,518 RBIs, and they finally made it official. His ultimate legacy is absolutely undeniable. He goes down in history with the most home runs by a second baseman, the third most RBIs at his position, a National League MVP award, and the very distinct honor of being the first Cal player officially enshrined in the Baseball Hall of Fame, joining Carlos Beltran and Andrew Jones in the class of 2026. Bringing our story full circle, Kent actually revealed during his induction speech that the pickup truck his dad bought him all those years ago, it still sits in his garage. It's such a deeply satisfying close to his narrative. A physical reminder that the simplest things, whether it's a truck, a quiet lesson from Eddie Murray, or a catchy quote about RBIs, can completely change the direction of your life and pave the road from being a 20th round draft pick all the way to Cooperstown. The Baseball Hall of Fame is a museum of greatness, but the voting process? It's deeply human. So if it took 10 long years for the absolute greatest power-hitting second baseman in history to get his due, it really makes you wonder, how many other polarizing legends are out there, just waiting for their underlying truth and hard statistics to finally outshine the friction of their personalities? Thanks for joining me for this explainer on a true baseball immortal.